Get rid of my phone. Good evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome. It is Wednesday, January 22nd at 6:30. I call this meeting to order. Lisa, can you please call the roll?
Robert Downey.
Present.
Patty Coutray.
Present.
Carolyn Lopez.
Present.
Ben Owens.
Present.
Shante Rothschild.
Present.
Thank you. We now move on to Pledge of Allegiance, and I've asked our newest board member, Member Rothschild, to lead us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And I move on to item 1D, adoption of the agenda. I just want to point out that Dr. Lopman is seriously ill today and won't make it. So I would ask that we maybe consider pulling item 8F, the executive session, since Dr. Lopman's sort of key to that session.
I'll second.
That wasn't a motion. He wants one of us to motion it.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'll motion that we remove item 8F from the agenda.
I'll second.
Lisa, we have a motion and a second.
Shante Rothschild.
Aye.
Ben Owens.
Aye.
Carolyn Lopez.
Aye.
Patty Coutray.
Aye.
Robert Downey.
Aye, so moved. We now move on to item 2, Superintendent's Report. Ms. Pastor, I believe you're going to do present the report.
Thank you, President Downey. So tonight's report is abbreviated. The full superintendent's report will be at the upcoming meeting. But Dr. Lopman wanted to ensure that we acknowledge National School Board Recognition Month and pay tribute to our MUSD Governing Board. School board members shoulder enormous responsibilities and have an essential role in the success of a district. Every student and staff member benefits from your tireless work and countless hours contributed by these local citizens who are without pay for their positions. Board members, thank you so much for caring about our students and our staff. Your service is truly appreciated. As a token of appreciation, MUSD Governing Board polos are placed at your spots tonight, representing the important role you play in guiding and supporting our district. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move on to item 3, Governing Board Members Report. Member Rothschild.
Good evening and welcome everyone. Couple things that I'd like to share. Was able yesterday to participate in a Martin Luther King event held at City Hall. So that was a great event. Saw many of you there, as well as participated in the district's, or observed, I was not on stage, I'm not great at spelling, the district spelling bee. And so congratulations to all of the participants and of course the winner. And then in addition to that, there was a tiny homes event that was held at Desert Winds, which is an amazing event. So kudos to all the participants, the faculty, and teachers.
Thank you. Member Owens.
Nothing this evening, Mr. Downey. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Lopez.
I went to the State of the District luncheon they had last week, and that was wonderful to see all of our community members, but what was extra special this time, I think, was the report that 3 of our students gave. Was great to hear from them, great to hear about what they're doing, their aspirations, their future, and that's it.
Thank you. Vice President Coutray.
Thank you, President Downey. I too was able to attend the district spelling bee, and I will say this year we went a lot of rounds compared to what we've done in the past, so it was amazing, although I probably would have been out on one of that first dings. So kudos to all those participants, and thanks to the judges and our pronouncer. That was awesome. I was also able to attend the State of the District lunch, and like Member Lopez said, it was awesome listening to our 3 high school students speak. They really do make us proud of what we're doing, and you can see all of the efforts that our teachers, our staff, our parents, the support that they're giving these students really shines through those 3 students that spoke. It was awesome. I also was able to bop into one of the MHS basketball games after the spelling bee. And last night I did attend the city council meeting. And the other meeting that I attend is I am part of the Rotary Club. And so there's something I just want to share with all of you who may not even realize what our Rotary Club does. So the Rotary Club of Maricopa is a valued partner of MUSD, dedicated to promoting student achievement with a strong focus on literacy. Throughout the first half of the school year, their generous sponsorship and support has enriched the lives of over 3,000 students through various events and programs. These include Maricopa Kids Day, the Railroad Club, STEAM activities like the rocket launch, Boys and Girls Club of the Sun Corridor, special events like the Summer Library Program, Rotary Reads at elementary schools, and the Student of the Month program, and more. None of this would be possible without the dedication of the Rotarians, volunteers, and the enduring legacy of Mary Lou and John E. Smith. We are grateful for their commitment to empowering our students and fostering the love of learning. And if anybody's ever interested in becoming a part of this amazing organization, shoot me an email. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not going to get into detail of some of the stuff, but I'll just reiterate. I was at the Future Cities Tiny Houses competition review. We were selecting a couple of teams to go, actually, I think it was the state level up in Phoenix for the following Saturday. Really interesting, really nice, and actually a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I attended Spelling Bee, I attended the State of the District lunch, and I've attended 2 girls' soccer teams. And if anybody knows me, they know I like soccer. I probably watch between 6 and 12 European games every week. So I was able to attend girls' soccer games. Okay, now moving on to item 4, spotlight recognition. Ms. Terry.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thanks for being here tonight. Tonight, the Maricopa Unified School District is excited to honor spotlight recipients across 3 categories: community members, MUSD employees, and students. Before we begin, I'd like to thank our sponsors at Freddy's Steak Burgers and Frozen Custard, Culver's Frozen Custard and Butter Burgers, and Auction Circle for helping make tonight special for our honorees. Our first honorees are community members who contribute time and support to make a difference in the lives of the students and families we serve. Congratulations, community members. As I call your name, please come forward to receive your certificate and give a quick fist bump to members of the governing board, and then make your way to room 123 for a group photo. Mr. Harmon, give us a wave so they know where room 123 is. Congratulations to Cheryl Purvis, community volunteer from Butterfield Elementary School. Mary Bredden Moore, community volunteer, Maricopa Elementary School. Deja Williams, community partner at Pima Butte Elementary School. Fu Win, parent supporter from Saddleback Elementary School. Jackie Crow, volunteer, Santa Cruz Elementary School. Jessica Ross, PTO board member and volunteer from Santa Rosa Elementary School. Severanjini Murugan, volunteer, Desert Wind Middle School. William and Nicole DeCluet, parent supporters, Maricopa Wells Middle School. Amanda Evans, parent volunteer, Desert Sunrise High School. Raymond Nieves, community partner, Maricopa High School. Jenny Barbush and Megan Wyrick, community partners, Maricopa Virtual Academy. Congratulations again to these outstanding Spotlight community members. Next, we are proud to honor our Spotlight Employees of the Month. And these staff members are phenomenal individuals who go above and beyond expectations to meet the needs of our kids and support their school communities. Congratulations, Spotlight employees. As I call your name, please come forward to receive your certificate and give a quick fist bump to members of the governing board, and then make your way to room 123 for a group photo. Congratulations to Tyneal Batone, lead custodian, Butterfield Elementary School. Stephanie Spear, front office clerk, Maricopa Elementary School. Kelly Gomez, 5th grade teacher, Pima Butte Elementary School. Jacqueline Pratt, developmental preschool teacher, Saddleback Elementary School. Kim Olson, 4th grade teacher, Santa Cruz Elementary School. Yvonne Maestas, preschool teacher, Santa Rosa Elementary. Tammy S. Acevez, security guard, Desert Wind Middle School. Casey Burns, academic coach, Maricopa Wells Middle School. Kevin Paz, math teacher, Desert Sunrise High School. Marcella Guzman, administrative assistant, Maricopa High School. Mario Duncan, security guard at Ram Academy. Leisha Vila, social studies teacher, Maricopa Virtual Academy. Dana Simmons, academic services specialist from Academic Services. And Samuel Hernandez, IT tech from Technology. Congratulations, Spotlight employees. And finally, we're thrilled to honor our Spotlight Students of the Month. School principals selected these remarkable students based on their outstanding commitment to their education, their school, and their community. These students set the bar high and are recognized for efforts in academic achievement, demonstrating great character, helping others, and being great ambassadors for their schools. Congratulations, Spotlight employees. As I call your name, please come forward and receive your certificate and give a quick fist bump to members of the governing board. And then make your way to room 123 for a group picture. Mr. Harmon, give us another wave. All right. Congratulations to Ethan Santiago Perez, 4th grader from Butterfield Elementary. Adam Gomez Ruiz, 4th grade student, Maricopa Elementary. Samuel Roller, 2nd grader, Pima Butte Elementary School. Weston Brown, 2nd grader, Saddleback Elementary School. Keenan Snell, 4th grader, Santa Cruz Elementary School. Conley Arndt, kindergartner from Santa Rosa Elementary School. Justin Coda Walker, 8th grader, Desert Wind Middle School. Jordan Miller, 8th grader, Maricopa Wells Middle School. Emerson Jimenez, junior at Desert Sunrise High School. Derek Day, junior, Maricopa High School. Marlene Tejeda Corona, junior, Maricopa Virtual Academy. And Balin Smith, senior from Ram Academy. Congratulations again to these Spotlight students. Parents, we have one more recognition before you meet your kiddos in room 123. In partnership with the Maricopa Rotary Club, we'd like to honor a deserving group of students. Rotary honors young people who are developing leadership skills and making a difference in their communities. Rotary students, as I call your name, please come forward and Mr. Abel and Ms. Coutre will present you with a special certificate. In addition, you'll receive a $50 gift card on behalf of the Rotary. A special thank you goes to John and Mary Lou Smith Education Foundation for their sponsorship that helps make tonight special for our honorees. Congratulations to Rajaya Givens, 8th grade student, Maricopa Wells Middle School. Kamari Sparks, 8th grade student, Desert Wind Middle School. Zaire Smith, senior, Maricopa High School. Thor Azen, senior from Desert Sunrise High School. David Diana Allen, 8th grader, Maricopa Virtual Academy. and Balin Smith, senior from Ram Academy. Parents, you can meet your kiddos in room 123. We are taking a 5-minute break to allow everyone who is here for recognitions and classroom spotlight to make their exit. And then we'll begin the business portion of our meeting. Or you can stay.
Hello, resume in 30 seconds. Hello, we're back in session, and we're at item 5, information items, specifically 5A, Project Award 2 update. Ms. Pastor.
Good evening, President Downey, members and guests. We're here this evening with a Project Aware update. AWARE stands for Advancing Wellness and Resiliency in Education. And I'm co-presenting tonight with a couple of my colleagues, Noala Pura, our Community Project Manager for Project Aware, and Becky Horn, Mental Health Counselor at Desert Wind and Lead Counselor for the district. I'd also like to thank some of our District Aware team members that are in the audience tonight for being here to show support. 3 of our counselors are here. We have Tara Roy Pablo, Stephanie Spence, and Lorena Meach. Thank you for being here. So Project Aware is a federal initiative that develops a sustainable infrastructure to support student mental health. It is funded by SAMHSA. SAMHSA stands for the Department of Health and Human Services, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. It is a 5-year comprehensive grant, and our grant cycle will end in September of 2026. The goals of Project Aware align very closely to our strategic plan, specifically a couple of the goals and strategies. Goal 2, we have Gold Star Parent University being the healthiest school district in the state. And then in Goal 3, Gold Star Partnerships for Health and Wellness. We also are very proud that Project Aware aligns very closely in supporting the attributes, all of the attributes of the Portrait of a Graduate. By building systems of support for student mental health, we are promoting student advocacy and voice. And I'll hand things over to Becky.
The infographic is a visual of the pathways for referral to school and community-based counseling services. It's available on the MUSD website and is also provided by counseling staff to parents and students. Initially, a student is identified by a parent, guardian, or staff member who may observe a concern with a student whose social or emotional health may be impacting their academic performance. Additionally, a student may self-identify as needing support. Once the student is identified, a referral form is submitted to the school-based counseling staff at the respective school. The school counselor then meets with the student for a needs assessment to determine the appropriate level of services. And if ongoing mental health support is deemed necessary, the school counselor will discuss recommendations with the parent or guardian to obtain consent. And following the needs assessment, the school counselor provides school-based services to the student and or submits a referral to a community partner agency for community-based services. So, during the first semester of the 2024-25 school year, the counselors at all MUSD schools collectively screened or triaged 991 students. Counselors will triage or screen students in response to academic concerns, behavior concerns, security alerts, or other issues. Of the students triaged or screened in the first semester of the school year, 182 students were enrolled in school-based counseling and 18 students were referred to community-based services. It's important to note that the MUSD counseling staff are working with more than 182 students. Counselors are also delivering school-based services to students who are continuing counseling services from the previous year or who are receiving counseling services as part of their IEP or 504 plans.
The first goal of Project Aware 2 is infrastructure, which is building that sustainable system of support. Existing memorandums of understanding with Horizon Healthcare and La Frontera Impact were drafted with sustainability in mind, allowing for continuity of care without lapse due to renewal periods. A new AWARE initiative in year 3 was with Hanover Research, who is conducting a series of reports that include qualitative and quantitative research on 3 challenges we are currently facing as a district. This includes chronic absenteeism, school safety, and increasing student outcomes. These reports, which are now available to us, will inform how we address these challenges. As we approach the remaining 18 months, sustainability becomes an important consideration. We have built capacity to sustain by strengthening partnerships with community partners, as well as placing a heavy emphasis on training and developing the knowledge and skills of our staff and our multidisciplinary teams. Goal 2 of Project AWARE consists of outreach and engagement. This slide contains a very small sampling of some of the Project AWARE supported events on both the district as well as the school level during the first semester. Apologies. There we go. We continue to offer a variety of trainings to staff and students. I'd like to highlight Question, Persuade, Refer, Gatekeeper Training, our suicide prevention initiative, which is currently offered to all secondary staff members as well as all freshmen. The freshman students who participated in QPR this semester consist of half of the district's total freshman student population. We will continue to offer this and more training opportunities to our staff, students, and families in the future, which brings us to our next steps. Infrastructure in this semester will see Project AWARE teams continuing to push for sustainability by building on the established foundations. We will strengthen partnerships and seek new connections with additional partners. For engagement, I'd like to highlight parentguidance.org, which is a site that we have provided subscription for, and our parents will get access to this. Let me see if I can manage to zoom out. Apologies, I don't think I'll be able to click through to show you exactly how that works, but it is a mental health series platform on a series of topics. Parents will have the ability to select a time frame that they want to watch any of these sessions that are available, as well as any topic that interests them, which is a huge change from the past where we have chosen the specific topics for the online live series that parents would get to watch. So now it's all in their hands and they have access to this 24/7. Finally, for training, we have coordinated the following opportunities for staff and students, such as sending counselors to the Arizona School Counselors Association Conference, as well as training on restorative and equitable disciplinary practices.
Thank you, Noel. Thank you, Becky. And we open it up for questions and any feedback.
Thank you. I do have quite a few questions that were triggered with this wonderful presentation. So out of the 991 students that were triaged and only 182 were enrolled in school services, what happened to the difference? What did whatever happened to those kids that you triaged that didn't qualify for those services? Were they just handled with student discipline? Is that what?
So I'll give you an example of something that comes to mind, and then Becky, as the counselor, would chime in if there's more. So one of the reasons why a student might be triaged by a counselor is our securely alerts. So a certain word or phrase was typed, and that gets picked up by our system that we use in IT. And then when the counselor met with the student, we found that they were innocently researching, that they didn't mean to use a word that would trigger some concerns, and that there were no other signs of concern with that particular student. Everything was well. So that's one example that comes to mind, but are there others, Becky?
And that's a great question because there's a big difference in that number. So sometimes when we meet with students, say a parent says, can you talk to my child about they're being bullied or they're having some peer conflict. We talk with the student, kind of determine that, okay, this is maybe, an isolated incident or something that we can resolve through peer mediation, and it doesn't necessarily require ongoing counseling. There's also times where even though we might recommend school-based counseling or community-based counseling, the parents aren't receptive to that or don't respond to us, or decide that they want to kind of just follow through with services on their own. And sometimes it's meeting with a student just a couple of times where that situation's resolved. So there's a couple of different ways that can happen.
So that's an awesome resolve rate. And I'm glad that we're looking out for the kids. One of the other questions I had with the QPR, why did we just do the freshmen?
Good question. We could certainly consider adding other grades. There's a particular class that's required of all freshmen that we were able to fit it into the curriculum. And so we'll look at adding additional grade levels. It isn't necessarily something that secondary students need to repeat every year, but maybe we could look at another grade level that could be added in the future.
Is it appropriate for a middle school grade level?
I'm not sure. We will
Okay.
have to get back to you on that.
Okay. Anything that we can do to help our students, and stuff is happening younger nowadays. So I think it's great that we do it for the high school and help prepare them to go into the high school. But if there's an age-appropriate level of this type of training that we could launch for sixth graders
Yes.
or eighth graders even, it might be beneficial.
It is great training. Becky is one of our trainers, as well as another mental health counselor from Maricopa Wells. And we are researching bringing a parent version of it as well to us.
And then my last question, I promise. So at the district level, some of the events we had were for parents. What parents need to know about suicide prevention was one of the ones that you shared, and situational awareness. How was the attendance on that? Did we get a lot of participation?
We can get you those numbers. Our situational awareness evening was a little less than the number that normally attends Safety and Discipline Task
Okay.
Force. Those individuals were invited, and then we had some others join us. I
Okay.
don't remember the number off the top of my head. And then the other parent event you mentioned,
It was another one that you had, what parents need to know about suicide and situational awareness was a couple of them that you listed on your.
yes, the Cook Center Virtual Suicide Prevention, we do have numbers on that, are analytics that they give us, and we can get you that.
Okay, I was just curious if it was well-attended or if it was something that was one of our challenges that we need to see how we can get them.
Continue to work on it. We offer it in multiple ways. You can join virtually, you can watch it later in that particular instance, and we play with what best time should we put events at.
And it's never ending, I know. I appreciate all your efforts, really, truly. It does show, especially in those numbers. And the culture of the schools are starting to change, and I think a lot of that has to do with everything that you guys are doing. So I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for answering all my questions.
I have a few. Okay. You said there's 18 months left in the grant, right? What does that sustainability look like now with only 18 months left? And then the second part of that is, have you engaged in those new partnerships yet, or are we still just looking?
Great question. Sustainability is very important in the last 2 years of any grant, but in particular this grant. So we're looking at studying the various initiatives to make sure that we're looking at the return on investment and what are the outcomes associated with the different things that we've decided to do with Project Aware. So Hanover, for example, Gallup, BASE is a secondary curriculum that we're using with students. All of these things are studied to see and measure the effectiveness, so we can begin to think about which projects will we look for alternative funding for, because they've yielded the most benefit.
Okay.
Another thing is some of our partnerships with outside agencies were established before Project Aware. We've just solidified them. We have established these memorandums of understanding and defined our relationships, in particular with Horizon Health and Impact La Frontera. The other agencies that we've welcomed to be a part of our mental health task force, for example, will continue to be invited. And the mental health task force is an example of something that's definitely sustainable with beyond the grant. We'll continue to engage our community partners, our faith-based agencies that come and they're a part of that. So those are some of the things that we see as very sustainable.
Okay. And then of the resource, so when we give a resource to parents, let's say whether they're just the child is just triaged, or the student, or they get services, they're always given other resources. Do we have data on whether the triage worked, the resources given worked, or the counseling or the help that the child was given? Do we have any data on the end result? Like, was there increase in healthy behaviors? Was there a decrease in unhealthy behaviors? Was there an increase in attendance? Was there an increase in grades? Did they go up? Was an IEP written better? Did we get to a bottom of it? Do we have any data on all of that?
Mm-hmm. So we collect and we look at the data in a couple of ways. Through our partnership with Project Aware and those other districts that we work with, we collect data, and the counselors who submit this data to us on a monthly basis. We collect data on referrals and then access through these community-based agencies. Our intent is to close any gap between students that are referred, families that are referred, and then may fall between the cracks, and they're not accessing the therapies that they need. So we follow up. That's why our partnership with these agencies is important, because we pick up the phone and follow up with those referrals. Then for looking at the other factors, discipline, academics, what have you, we have a spreadsheet that principals and counselors and others on a need-to-know basis are looking at, that looks at students on multiple levels to see if some of our interventions that are provided are resulting in differences in our grades, in our discipline. We have, for example, a very low number of students that are reoffenders for alcohol, drug, and tobacco. So we think that some of our education using BASE assists, but also conversations with our administrators, with our counselors, helps to contribute to a very low, I hate to use this word because it's not my favorite, but recidivism. It's those students that have repeat, so.
Well, I love what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
And thank you. And thank you for giving access to parents and children that need your services. So thank you.
First off, great questions, I think, by our board. Great presentation. That's a really good information. Can you explain what an enrollment in a school-based service looks like? So I've got one, that's the question, then I've got an observation after that.
Sure. So something that we've determined, I would say this was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, is that any student that sees a counselor more than twice needs a parent consent form and then counselors track those notes. We use a software that allows them to keep those notes very confidential, called BH Works. And so those sessions are recorded there. They're a part of the student record. The counselors are very collaborative with the teachers to make sure that our students are not falling further behind by being pulled out during core classes, for example. Sometimes the support might look like a lunch bunch where they're pulling together a small group of students that struggle with a similar social skill, for example. The whole intent is to get students back into the classroom with more developed social and behavioral skills, and to not continuously need those services.
Gotcha. That makes total sense. So the observation that I've got is our counselors, just in this instance, are touching over 10%, right? Somewhere, 10 to 12% of our students. And in half a year. I think that's pretty good. So what do all of our the counselors' times, or the meetings that they have with students, does all that encompassed in what we're seeing here?
Great question. Certainly not in that slide. It definitely does not show the full picture of how our counselors spend their very busy days. They're also pushing into classrooms to perhaps do an anti-bullying lesson. They collaborate in our secondary schools. They work with our SROs. They work with administrators. They work as follow-up if a student had a discipline incident and they may need some follow-up support. They're there for that. Parents, I used a counselor's space for a meeting with a student, and the counselor was spending quite a bit of time supporting a parent struggling, needing support for their student. They're just such a tremendous resource to our entire community.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you, counselors, too.
Thank you for what you do, first and foremost. Just the mental health of the world right now. Obviously, everyone is struggling, specifically our youth. So with that, just a couple of questions, one of which you mentioned after so many visits, the parents have to sign or be made aware. Can you expound on that as to the reason for the parent acknowledgement?
Sure. We do have some policies that in statutes we need to work with. Parent consent is something that we need to have in order to move forward. But the counselors are a great bridge in helping our counselors our parents, understand the value in this. We're sometimes not successful in convincing a student that may benefit from some community-based mental health support, but in most instances, we're able to get parents to understand the value of school-based counseling through those conversations.
So it's parent awareness, not necessarily what was discussed. Is there some confidentiality, some type of rights that the student has?
Yes, and our counselors are very aware of what our limitations are and how to work around that.
Thank you. And you may have already touched on this a little bit, but initially I thought that the program was going into 2029, but with it almost ending in 18 months, what are next steps? So basically what was kind of done before the grant was received and what will be done afterwards to continue to have this focus on our youth mental health?
So I can't say that we've worked through all of that yet, but as I said earlier, we're looking at the components, the initiatives that are yielding the greatest results, and then looking at both Noel and I have experience with other grant writing, and so we're always on the lookout for other opportunities should they fit the needs of our initiatives as well.
Thank you.
So I'm going to just put this out there because I have an experience of this, and maybe this will help some of the parents maybe feel a little bit more comfortable to reach out, but also answer some other questions about confidentiality. So I've had to reach out to our school counselor to get one of my many kids some help because we had changed our routine, right? I started to work outside the home, too many things were happening, and we just noticed they were acting different. So I reached out, and the confidentiality was just, they have their personal space. I don't know what they talk about, and it's been wonderful. They've changed back to how they used to be. Still working on some things, but it was great, and it feels really good. And they're able to come home and talk about it. Of course, I think the confidentiality comes more into if they were to talk about harming themselves or harming someone else, or then that would be where we come into play, and that would be a conversation between the parent and the counselor, right? But I just can't thank you guys enough, and whatever you guys need to do to keep it going, whatever you have my support 100%. So thank you. Thank you. That was it.
Great presentation, and thank you for all that you do. Great questions and comments from the board. I like this program and liked it initially because it went a bit above and beyond the student. It actually involved, I'm going to use family, but in a very loose sense of the word, but people outside the school that are either impacting the student or can help the student. I like this sort of family approach, and I say family with a very small f. So I'm very supportive of it. I want to build on, but I'm looking through my notes and all my questions were sort of answered, and I can't pronounce recidivism, so I'll use a different tack. We're 3 years into this program, and we've spent a lot of time and money on this program. So we don't obviously need to see specific student names or whatever, but I think there is a requirement to come back and to build on Member Lopez's question and say, look, we've seen this number of students and their grades improved. Sorry, their grades should stay in that. We've seen this number of students because they were absent. A lot of absenteeism, and after we had them for 6-9 months, whatever's I don't know what's appropriate, I'm not the expert, they're now attending 100%. That type of metrics, I think, will help certainly me and maybe other members of the board whenever it comes to the question of how much time, money, and effort do we put onto this after the 18 months and the grant runs out, because there's only limited funds available. So I just challenge you with that. As I say, some of my other comments have already been addressed, so I'm not going to take any more of your time. Any other questions from the board, comments? Thank you very much. Very good presentation. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you all.
Now move on to item 5B, fiscal year 25-26, budget first look. Mr. Harmon.
All right. Good evening, President Downey and members of the governing board. The purpose of this presentation is to share the first look at our early projections for the fiscal year 26 budget. I'd like to review our budget calendar for the rest of the year. We're doing our first look of the fiscal year 26 budget tonight. In February, we'll hold some employee meetings at the school sites. On March 17th, we'll issue our teacher contracts. In April, we'll have the second look at the fiscal year 26 budget. In May, we have our mandatory final revision of our current year fiscal year 25 budget. On June 11th, we'll have our fiscal year 26 proposed budget approval and authorization to publish our budget, and a notice of public hearing for our budget adoption will take place before July 15th. The next couple of slides show some highlights of the projected fiscal year 26 budget. First, we have some potential fiscal cliffs. The first is the aggregate expenditure limit, or what is usually referred to as the AEL. Most of us are aware of that by now. It's a statewide limit on all school district spending. It requires a 2/3 approval in the legislature to override the limit each year. This year, we were fortunate that the legislature approved the override early and didn't wait until the March 1st deadline. We're unsure about what will take place next year if they approve it early or wait until March. The second fiscal cliff is the expiration of the Proposition 123. We receive an additional $600,000 each year from Prop 123. This is the last year, our current fiscal year is the last year of this add-on. There's a lot in the legislature about extending or changing Proposition 123. There is a chance that something is approved and that this fiscal cliff doesn't take place. But at this stage, we're planning for a reduction of $600,000 in the M&O budget. And I will say, if you want to stop me at a slide and have questions at that point instead of waiting to the end, you shouldn't throw me off too bad. Some key drivers. Oh, I'm sorry. Where am I? There we go. Some key drivers of this projection include a 2% increase in the base level amount per weighted student as part of our budget formula inflation factor. The Arizona State retirement contribution rate paid by each qualifying employee and matched by the district is decreasing by 0.27%, and the alternate contribution rate is also decreasing by 0.20%. This decrease will see our average teacher save about $200 a year, but the district with our 1,200 employees will see a savings of $150,000 due to this rate decrease. We're seeing a slight decrease in our teacher experience index, likely to turnover, leading to incoming teachers having slightly lower experience levels than those of our outgoing teachers. We're still well above the state average and will receive additional funds. And we are projecting a growth in ADM of 377. Here's some investments in people and programs. We're continuing to support site-based leadership and decision-making with our school allocated budgets in M&O, capital, and vision. We're committed to covering any increased costs of employee health benefits. We're investing $200,000 in the creation of an employee wellness program. We're continuing to prioritize competitive compensation increases, and we're raising the base rate of first-year teachers from $54,000 to $56,000. This chart shows our 100th day ADM trend from fiscal year 20 to our projected ADM for next year. The blue bar shows the total ADM each year, and the orange bar shows how much we have grown in each of those years. This table shows the ADM trend of neighboring districts from last school year to this school year. The top 5 growing districts on this list include MUSD, several Maricopa charter schools, and Coolidge Unified. Leading Edge is up 57 students, MUSD is up 405, Coolidge Unified 130, Legacy up by 33, and Heritage by 21. The Casa Grande districts are relatively flat. The 4 districts that show significant decline include Florence Unified and all 3 of the Tempe districts. Tempe Elementary down 266, Florence Unified down 304, Tempe Union down 527, and Kyrene Elementary down 696 students. Sequoia Pathway in Maricopa lost the largest percentage at 11.2% and 99 students. We thought this was good data. Sorry, what was that?
What would you attribute some of those decreases to? So the decreases in students. I don't know if you have hard facts or maybe some assumptions.
Sorry, Member Rothschild. The Tempe districts those communities are aging out and property values are increasing. We see this in a number of communities. I didn't put Chandler on this list, but I could have shown Chandler's decline or Mesa Unified's decline in many of the Phoenix districts. Typically every district or community kind of has a process where they're a young growing community like Maricopa, where property values are a little lower or house prices are a little lower and families are younger. But as those families stay put, the kids grow up and move away, and then houses become too expensive for young families to purchase. And that really speaks to the Tempe districts. Florence Unified is a little bit of a different one. They're in Pinal County. They're in a growing area. There's a lot more charter schools and neighboring districts that pull a lot of that open enrollment. So that's kind of the only outlier on there. The Casa Grande districts just aren't seeing as much. I think housing development growth, there might be some water factors that have led to that, but that's where I'm kind of speaking out of school a little bit.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Harmon, do you think the ESA also has played a big part on some of these declining enrollments in these districts as well?
Yeah, that's a great point. Member Coutre, the ESAs 100% impact all of these districts. We have over, probably close to 1,000 ESA students in our boundary, and I know that's the same for the districts on this list. Before we talk about the projected budget for next year, we need to start with our current year final revision to kind of lay a foundation. We're anticipating a relatively small increase in the general budget limit, resulting from a minor gain in ADM over the adopted projections. We're also decreasing the amount of M&O transfer to capital to cover some of the changes in this year's expenditure plan around special education. We're moving the rest of our carry forward to capital to address our multi-year capital plan. We anticipate a revised general budget limit of just over $84.1 million. Next is our fiscal year 26 projected budget limit with the key factors and assumptions mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. We're projecting our FY26 M&O general budget limit to be just over $87 million. We aren't anticipating any additional budget balance carry forward to transfer to capital next year. This results in an M&O GBL, or general budget limit, increase of $2,888,049. We know that our budget is made up of many different funds. So the next slide will show 3 other funds that we're using to fund our full expenditure plan for this year. Sorry, for next year. So the trend of these funds is essentially the same. Over the last several years, we've restricted the expenditure levels far below our ongoing revenue levels to build a budget reserve to mitigate financial risk and uncertainty. Each of these funds have reached a point of sufficient reserve, and we are planning to increase expenditures to match our expected revenues. The Classroom Site Fund is based on a special state sales tax. This fund is used for teacher compensation. We'll end this year with a reserve of nearly $6 million. Our available ongoing revenue is $2,684,870. Next, we have our Medicaid reimbursement fund, meant to offset the cost of special education. We're on track to end with a reserve of $6.5 million in these funds. Our available ongoing revenue is $950,000. And then the indirect cost fund comes from grants to cover the district's indirect costs associated with writing, tracking, administering, and reporting the grants. We expect the fund balance reserve to reach $5 million at the end of the year, and our available ongoing revenue is $650,000. We're proposing expenditures in these funds to equal our ongoing revenues. This will help fund our strategic plan and offset expenditures from M&O while maintaining these reserves for future financial stability. All right, now that we've built our budget limits, we'll shift to the expenditure plan. Starting with some of the fixed costs, we experience inflation each year in goods, services, and utilities. We're assuming a 2.44% inflation and setting aside $353,000. We won't know our employee health insurance rate increase for a month or two, but we know that health insurance gets more expensive each year, and we've built a 7% set aside in the budget projections. On a similar note as our property casualty insurance, we've built in a 5% inflation for that category. As mentioned, the savings from the Arizona State Retirement Pension contribution rate. We've also added a contingency fund equal to 1% of the M&O general budget limit. This is a set-aside amount to handle unforeseen positions and needs that arise after the budget adoption to account for growth or new positions. Total fixed costs are just over $1.5 million.
Excuse me, Mr. Harmon, the 1% contingency fund, is that a finance standard, or where did we come up with the 1%?
Yeah, that's a great question. Typically, we would use reserves or other our budget balance carry forward if we had some in M&O to account for anything that was kind of unplanned. This is a good standard to set aside a contingency. We looked historically, and every year from July through June of the following year, after we adopt a budget and kind of finish our expenditure plan, needs arise, a new IEP, growth resulting in new teaching staff. There's a number of things that'll happen. So you see every month, every board meeting, there tends to be a position that we're approving that's ongoing. This year in particular that we're in has been a larger than normal year. having a contingency fund like this set aside will allow us to have room for that in the budget. And if it goes unspent, then it'll lead to carry forward that can be transferred to capital projects. It's definitely a good practice.
And the percentage, again, that's the 1%, that's a standard, or just based on what you've seen in years past?
No, I like to work in formulas that have numbers, and 1% is close to the level that we were shooting to set aside. So
Thank you.
I wish I had a better answer. All right. We're showing the total district cost for compensation increases to all staff at 3%, 4%, and 5%. We built our budget plan around a 5% increase for all staff. We participated in a salary study with 96 other Arizona school districts. As a highlight of this study, our teacher base salary was in the top 10, $7,038 above the study average. We did have a few positions under the study average that we're planning for adjustments above the 5%. Here's a list of those positions. The cost of this adjustment is a little over $107,000.
Mr. Harmon, may I stop you there because I have several questions
Please.
on this one. So I see that we ranked number 10 in our teacher base, and I'm very proud of our district and the efforts that we've made for our teachers to be the leader in the state, really, on what we pay our teachers. So where did we rank with our admin and our classified?
I can definitely send you that data.
Okay. And I do have to acknowledge and thank you for the salary study, especially for our classified, to really take a look at what they're being paid on an hourly wage. And I do appreciate the efforts, and I recognize it, and thank you. However, I think y'all chuckle. Y'all know what's coming, don't you? So we want to be a gold standard district. And I think we do a great job with our teacher compensation. I think we're doing a great job with our admin, although I still have some statements I want to make about that. But when we look at these positions, a lot of these positions that we're under the study that we're bringing up, which is great, but they're not 12-month positions. When we look, most of them aren't. When we look at our salary schedule and our classifications for classified, we have a lot of 12-month positions that are very low on that scale. And we have 4 E goals, and one of those goals for our graduates is employment. But we don't want them to come in and work here because they wouldn't be able to afford an apartment, a car, food, utilities based on that. I would like to challenge us to continue what we've been starting because it's awesome, but just because a salary group study says, okay, we put this category of this employee at this, can we look at it differently and going, okay, these are our 12-month positions. Do they have a living wage? Can they afford a living? There's a lot of single parents out there. There's a lot of single income households out there. There's a lot of just individuals that are just living by themselves, and they can't live by themselves. So I would like us to look when we're planning our budgets and we're looking forward on how we become that gold standard district, to maybe take a different approach and not just fall into the same, just because that district ranked it this way, that's how we're going to do it. Maybe we need to look at something different so that we really do prioritize our staff, the ones that are working in classified, that maybe just have a high school graduation or just some college or some trade knowledge, that we're making sure that we're acknowledging that and compensating them. So that's what I want to say. Thank you.
I will speak to the study. These are the groups that fell below the average. they were still, and every one of them was in a different rank, which reflects different adjustments. We are adjusting our overall classified salary schedule by half of our raise. That's a good practice to increase the base salary for incoming employees at half of the raise that we're giving to make sure that there's proper separation from a 1 year and a 2 year employee. So on top of those adjustments, this will also help us make up room in that study. This is not our goal to be in the top 5% is not something we're going to address this year all at once, but over multiple years. This positions us really well on that path.
Mr. Harmon, I want to sort of piggyback on what VP Cortez said. If I recall correctly, we did something similar last year where we give a percentage to the classified and additional money. To pick up on that theme, I would like to see is that we're sort of going into these surveys later this year, and it turns out that we're already above average. Now, maybe we can't do anything this year, but I would set that as a goal to look upon that if what we're doing next year. Let's see if we can see if we're at least at the average and not below average the following year. You get what I'm saying? That's try and get ahead instead of playing catch up.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying we should be at the average, by the way. We potentially should be above it, but let's see how much we did with the teachers. It took us, I think it was 6 years to get to the point where we were for a period of time, we were in the top 5% in state. Now we're in the top 10%. And that's okay with me, but let's see if we can do the same with these classifications as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And this study that we participated in is the best study we've had, is certainly maybe ever, Mr. Beckett. It's hard to get data for, and it's getting harder and harder where districts are putting their data on, employee access only. So this study really helps us gain access to 96 of the largest districts and really see where we are in every employee group. So it was very useful. Thank you for your questions. So I will continue. It's almost over. Here's the expenditure summary. So starting with the total of all the funds mentioned in the presentation with a budget amount of $7,172,096. On the expenditures, we have fixed costs, $200,000 for the new employee wellness program, our 5% compensation increase, the additional adjustments for the salary study. For new positions, we have 3 new teaching positions for growth, district athletic director, planning principal for the new school and the Sorrento development. And that brings our current expenditure plan to $5,737,238, with just over $1.4 million remaining. Based on our remaining budget amount, we're confident in our ability to give a 5% raise to our to employee compensation and handle the rest of our needs for growth and funding the strategic plan. And if there are any other questions,
I do have one other question, but it wasn't as complicated as that. So you said you're going to go and take this to the employees in February. Is that to inform the employees, or is that to gain their feedback?
Mr. Beckett and I, we did a similar group of presentations to all the school sites a few years ago, and we'll have some new budget items, there's a few things we're going to be talking about. So inform and receive feedback will be part of those presentations.
And will we be doing any type of community engagement for our community to come and see what we're doing for our budget and to have any feedback from them?
That's not something we've done in the past. We can certainly look at that. Outside of the public hearing that we do in July, which is a public
Outside
forum.
of the public hearing, more of an informational, kind of like what you're going to be doing with the employees, explaining where we're at, what we've got planned, getting their feedback, so you're giving information and also getting information at the same time. Because a lot of times, we always hear from, especially when it's time for overrides and bonds, what are you doing with the money? Well, here's an opportunity. You want to know what we're doing with the money, come and find out.
Yeah, if that's the direction the board wants to go, I'm happy to work with Dr. Lopman and
I think I don't think it could hurt, is what I'm saying. I think some people might want to come out, or maybe it's one of those things that we could record and people could watch it or something, just so that they can have information.
I love a budget presentation. So
I have a question about the wellness. What does that entail?
It's based around our employee benefit package.
Okay.
So it'll be a combination of things. We're still kind of working out what that is going to encompass. But part of it will be we're looking at a number of apps that can be used to track not just fitness but mental health and challenges to really get people more aware of their well-being, education, so they can learn how to not just use their benefits but give resources from everything from diet and exercise and the overall benefit plan.
Okay.
So yeah, we have a lot of ideas.
Okay. And that is enough? The 200,000?
It's a stretch, but it's a really good start.
Starting point? Okay.
Did that include like the biometric screening and the shot clinics and the other stuff that? Yeah, because.
Yeah, all of those things will be included.
Okay.
Let's say we have a point structure that will lead to incentives.
Yep.
The biometric screenings, we do those anyway. We do have plans to expand those. They usually do, someone gets a new screening, they say, oh, got to do something about that. And we want to do more screenings. We've done Mr. Becker brought in the Skin.io, the skin cancer screening that was well received. We've got some good stories about that. So we want to bring more cancer screenings, expand what we're doing. So all of that's within the envelope. We work really closely with Kairos, our benefit partners, to help us devise a plan, figure out an ROI to see if this $200,000 is really doing what it's intended to do. So we're looking forward to putting something together.
And then question about the 3 teachers that are listed for growth. Do you know where out of the K through 12 schools those particular teachers would be allocated or roaming? Any idea?
Thank you for the question, Ms. Rothschild. We've looked at staffing at all of our schools. It looks like at this point in time, we may see a reduction at our high school levels. So we may be reducing some staff at that site, but we're looking at, I think, a total 7 elementary positions at different sites. You could probably guess which sites will be the hot spots. Again, we're continuing to look. This is a very fluid process. We're still early. You can see the housetops probably going up from one day to the next. And so, but again, at this point in time, we're looking just at a net gain of 3.
Mr. Harmon, I can't help but put on my industry. I mean, I spent 20 years with Bombardier and Honeywell. And I have no problem with a percentage increase across the board in principle. But I would just say that my view is that we should do more in the way of bonuses. For example, an A school that retains an A school, that's good. A B school that becomes an A school, that's super good. Teachers that get certified, that's good. Because our goal here is the students and producing good students. And it's not necessarily, I mean, certainly it helps that we're in the top 10%, I suspect, at getting good applicants and teachers. But I want to make sure that the schools in general are getting rewarded for the students that come out at the end of their 12 years going through our district. So I just put that out there. That were just examples, by the way. I want you to think about that because that would be something that I would look to see instead of just a flat increase across the board. But try to do something with bonuses for the teachers and staff as well, schools as well, that, as I say, maintain or improve. Yeah. Any other comments or questions from the board?
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Harmon. Lisa, we don't have any call to the public, so we can skip item 6. We now move on to item 7, consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Lisa, we have a motion and a second.
Shante Rothschild,
Aye.
Ben Owens,
Aye.
Carolyn Lopez,
Aye.
Patty Cotray,
Aye.
Robert Downey.
Aye, so moved. We now move on to item 8, action items, specifically 8A, discussion and possible approval of the personnel schedule. Mr. Backett.
Thank you, President Downey. Governing board members, thank you for your taking a look at this personnel schedule. There are a number of things in there that make Awesome questions, and I'll take any questions you have at this point in time, though.
Mr. Beckett, there was just, on the board docs, there was 2 schedules. I'm assuming they were both the
They
same.
are the same.
I'm like, don't make me do double the work.
Thank you. Good catch. Good catch.
Just wanted to make sure I was reading the right one.
Correct.
If there's no questions, I make a motion that we accept the HR schedule.
Second.
Lisa, we have a motion and a second.
Shante Rothschild,
Aye.
Ben Owens,
Aye.
Carolyn Lopez,
Aye.
Patty Cotray,
Aye.
Robert Downey.
Aye, so moved. We now move on to item 8B, discussion and possible approval of school year 2025-2026 works calendar. Mr. Beckett.
Thank you, President Downey, members of the governing board. This is a standard practice we do every year. We bring these calendars to the board for approval. These encompass all of our employee groups. These are passed out with contracts or work agreements that clearly specify the days they're expected to be here. And so, again, if you have questions, I'd be happy to take them at this point.
Mr. Beckett, I don't have a question
Yes.
because I think I already know this, but our contract for last year and this year and going forward for next year, we've put all of those teacher prep days, instruction days at the beginning. We front loaded them so that the teachers would have more time to get prepared for the school year, where 3 years ago, I believe that we used to give the teachers 1 day extra. They would have an in-service like after a break, so the students wouldn't return until Tuesday, but the teachers would return on Monday. But last year, well, at the beginning of this year, we decided to front load all those days. And have you received good feedback from that? And that's why we're continuing doing this practice?
Thank you, Member Cotray. I would say there's been some mixed reaction. Anytime there's change, that's always a challenge. There's some benefit to having some of those in-service days during the course of the year. But again, the overwhelming feeling from the committee that worked on this was that we would have front load those. Again, that's the plan moving forward.
You just answered my question, Mr. Beckett. If there was a committee that helped to put this together. So were there any reclassifications or changes in the work schedule? Say a group was last year on one schedule and moved to a different, do you follow me?
I am. Thank you, Member Owens. We have academic coaches. We had a specific request from the beginning of the year that our sites needed more support at the beginning. Many of our academic coaches were coming in off contract to help prepare and also finalize our school years. And so we moved them from their 187-day contract to the same contract now that our Gen Ed and ESS TOSAs have, so it's 210 days. So it's additional support for the sites. It's more money for those coaches as well. We base that on a daily rate. So it's a great opportunity for our sites, I think, to be better prepared and also to finalize their years. That is the only change. So,
Gotcha.
If there's no other questions, I'll motion.
Second.
Lisa, we have a motion and a second.
Shante Rothschild,
Aye.
Ben Owens,
Aye.
Carolyn Lopez,
Aye.
Patty Cotray,
Aye.
Robert Downey.
Aye, so moved. And I move to 8C, discussion and possible approval of the employee compensation plan for 2025-2026 school year. Mr. Beckett.
thank you, President Downey, members of the governing board. You have our compensation plans outlined there in front of you. I did put under the background section 3 of the plans that were our focus to make some slight changes to. But I will take your questions at this point.
Mr. Beckett, I'm going to challenge you like I challenged
Thank
Mr.
you.
Harmon. So when we're looking at our placements, and for example, we'll start with the administrative compensation plan.
Sure.
And we have the various levels. What is the matrix that you are using to determine where that position falls?
So I wouldn't say we have a matrix, Member Cotray, but along with the 96 other schools, districts that we're looking at, one of them is also analyzing each one of those director level, assistant superintendent, coordinator level positions, and seeing then how we rank in those situations. we are in competition with the Valley schools. We're also a large district. So those school districts in particular are the ones that we're focused on. Whenever we post a position, we want to make sure we're going to be competitive and get the best talent here for the district. So we do have, I would say, standards, other schools that we can measure ourselves against as we start putting together our schedules. The administrative compensation plan is a direct result of that analysis, though.
I noticed that the newest position that we just added, at the last meeting, the district AD was not listed on here, on the, it'd be compensation B level. But, and here was my thinking, you know, we have a lot of director positions, and I don't know exactly what the matrix of having the district AD position under level B. I look at the district athletic director being encompassing of all of the entire district, right? They're responsible for the entire district.
Correct.
But then we also have a director of child nutrition, we have transportation, we have facilities. Again, that's a district-wide position at a director level. So that's why I was asking, what type of matrix have we put together so that we know when we are creating these new positions, you know, maybe our district, I'm challenging you, to create this matrix so that when we are coming up with new positions or developing other roles, that it falls in an equal position. So that, you know, when we're doing something new, we're not pissing off somebody who's been at the district for 6 years, but this other guy came in and he's like 2 levels above. So just, I would kind of like to know if that's something that is possible that we can work on. Obviously, I don't expect it to be done, you know, immediately, but I would like to see it because I think, again, that's going to help us be that gold standard district. Having a matrix that we know we can formulate, because Mr. Beckett, you're not always going to be here. You've already told us that you're retiring. You know, you told us that.
Yes, yes.
So,
Sure.
you know, it's just, it's sustaining us for the future. And again, when we look at our classified hourly, as I mentioned earlier, you know, we don't have a matrix for that. But some of these low level like 1 through 4, those positions, that hourly wage I can see for 9-month employees, 10-month employees. But we don't put our 12-month employees at a higher rate. And I think that should be part of a matrix when we're looking at our classified employees. They're here 12 months out of the year. So we don't want to tell them, hey, work for us, but we know you're going to have a second job if you're going to be able to, you know, feed your family. So I think that's something that, again, I would challenge you.
Thank you. Sure.
You know, again, I want to see us maybe have that matrix and put those 12-month employees, because they're hard workers. Just because they don't have a degree and they're not in the classroom doesn't mean they're not valuable. Our district does not work without having all 3 groups of staff. It just doesn't work. And each one of them are equally important and should be treated that way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just,
Absolutely.
I want to copy what she just said, but I also think having a matrix when whoever comes up and asks us for certain positions, and you can base that on the matrix, that maybe there wouldn't be such pushback. Not that we have a lot. I'm just thinking bigger terms. No, I'm not pointing at you, but I agree, because if you can base that hiring decision and their qualifications and skill level on a matrix that says this is the position and this is the pay, rather than, I mean, so far since I've been on the board, it really kind of just feels like, oh, we're going to make this position and this is what we're going to pay them. And we could say the rationale is, well, that's what this position's paid for, but I don't see that. I don't know that. So I think that that's a really good idea. I love that idea. I love the matrix for all positions that don't have, you know, not teaching, we know what that skill level is.
I'm not aware of a tool that does that specifically,
We'll
but
make
I'd
our
be
own.
happy, I'd be happy
Yeah.
to do some research on
We're
that.
gonna, we're
We're
gonna
gonna-
pioneers
yeah,
of this,
We're
Mr.
We're gonna
Beck.
build
We're
our
gonna
own
go
road
out there
here.
and do it.
Like
Um,
copyright.
That's right.
There you
Some
go.
royalties off of it, yeah.
Mr. Beckett, I do also want to acknowledge and thank you, though, for the fact that we are doing that 2.5% increase on that classified schedule. I do appreciate you heard me, and you guys have really worked hard towards that, and I do want to recognize that, even though I'm challenging you to do more.
That's fine.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Beckett, do we have any instances where someone coming into the district at the same level as an existing employee would come in at a higher rate?
No. That's our commitment too. We've preached that consistently all along. We don't want somebody coming in, any position, having the same experience, same education, and have less longevity, getting more money. That is not going to happen.
And part of that is with the 5% raise that we're giving across the board. And that's why we can increase our starting teacher pay, because even with that 5%, everybody's going to be above that.
Right.
So a first-year teacher coming in is not going to make more than somebody who has been here.
And we've not always had that. There have been times we've compressed that down to where it feels like that, where the employee who's been here for a couple of years is making the same thing as somebody walking through the door. Again, we need to move past that. We made that commitment.
I'll make a motion to approve if there's no other discussion.
I'll second.
Lisa, we have a motion and a second.
Shante Rothschild,
Aye.
Ben Owens,
Aye.
Carolyn Lopez,
Aye.
Patty Coutray,
Aye.
Robert Downey.
Aye, so moved. I move on to item 8D, discussion and possible approval of the JOC contract and above the threshold purchase to Core Construction for portable classroom buildings at Santa Rosa Elementary School. Mr. Harmon.
Thank you, President Downey and members of the board. We have an agenda item to approve the JOC or job order contract to Core Construction for portable classroom building, which will be 2 classrooms at Santa Rosa Elementary. The proposal from Core included 2 alternates, one for a used classroom building and one for a new. The cost difference between the two, in my opinion, did not warrant a used building, so we are going with alternate A. And the only other important item is that they have built into this proposal is a substantial completion date of May 30th. We're early enough in the process. So if we get approval tonight, we can get a PO tomorrow. And the manufacturer of the building, as long as they had the purchase order by, I believe it says February 10th, that they can honor their deadlines. And so we're positioned well with approval tonight to make sure we have a building before the start of the next school year. Take any questions you may have.
Can we,
Oh, sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
can we get this done with city permitting and all that stuff in it is when you look at the whole time frame, right? So we're looking at 5 months. It's a pretty condensed time frame in the whole grand scheme of it, right? Have we done this in 5 months in the past?
That's a great question. I can't remember what our total timeline was for the last project, which was much more complicated. It was 4 campuses. So being on one campus, starting this early, the team wouldn't give me a date if they weren't confident. There is some wiggle room in this date. We really don't need to have that building for a month after this substantial completion. So obviously there's things that come up. Reviews don't take place when they're supposed to take place. We do have great city partners. We can call down there and help grease the gears if we need to. We're confident that we'll get done by this date.
Gotcha. I'm not saying that the city's going to hold it up. That is not what I'm saying at all. That's just a big component of what's going on, obviously. And then you said or Dr. Lopman, I think, mentioned it in our last meeting as well, that we need to have state.
Yeah, the State Housing Authority
Yep.
also, there's permits at the state level as well.
Yep.
So, but it's not, we're using Core Construction for a reason. They did a great job with the last portable project. Mike, the site super, he's fantastic with communication. He's very familiar with the city permitting. He's developed relationships there, and so all of those will lead to a successful project.
Good deal.
Mr. Harmon, we only are doing portables at one school. We're not doing Santa Cruz. We're just doing Santa Rosa?
That is correct. We believe we have a plan to address
Okay.
our needs at Santa Cruz.
Mr. Harmon, should that build-out time go beyond, I think it was what you said, May, there would not be any disruption to any of the youth, so there is placement for them currently? If it extends, it extends, which you
Yeah,
said that it
we
shouldn't.
really
but-
need the space before teachers return. So that's a May 30, even a June 30 is somewhere between the middle and end of June can also work before teachers return. There's also, there's a reason that we want to hit this May 30th because, we're having furniture delivered to these classrooms. We want to make sure that we have furniture, staged in time. So that's really the deadline that we're shooting for.
Makes sense, thank you.
Any further questions? I'll just add, I hope CORE isn't listening to this meeting. CORE
Probably are.
Construction, and knowing that they've got an extra month.
Oh, I'm very, we had a very similar discussion. I'm very transparent with him, but we mentioned the deadline that we desire, so.
Yeah. It's any motion?
If there's no further questions, I'd like to motion to approve the portable at Santa Rosa.
I'll second.
Lisa, we have a motion and a second.
Shante Rothschild,
Aye.
Ben Owens,
Aye.
Caroline Lopez,
Aye.
Patty Cotray,
Aye.
Robert Downey.
Aye, so moved. We now move on to item 8E, discussion and possible approval of the JOC contract and above threshold purchase to Mammoth Sports Construction for Maricopa High School football field turf replacement project. Mr. Harmon.
All right, thanks, President Downey and members of the board. Yeah, we're excited to bring this project to you. Our turf field is currently, I believe it's about 12 years old. These fields are, in this proposal, we have an 8-year warranty on the seams. Anything beyond that is in Arizona with the temperatures and the sun, they really start to degrade, in year 10, year 12. This particular project will take place over spring break, which is a tight window, but have it done before graduation. And we also received a discount doing an off season. The summer season is the busiest time, and so doing this over spring break was also advantageous. So we're excited.
Mr. Harmon, the one
Yeah.
question I have is what is going to be the underlayment for this? Because right now we have, we went the expensive route, so it would keep it cooler. So what is the underlayment on this? Are we changing that out as well?
That is a great question. I'm going to do my best to answer your question.
I'm so excited
So,
for this. It's not even funny, so.
We're doing a very like for like, so there are options. There's some much more expensive options that were, I think, about $250,000 more to do a different cushion. The cushion would actually be under the turf, and then they would have a much more temperature resistant topping. We weren't going that route. We stayed with a like for like, so the turf still sits on a regular base, whatever base aggregate is down, and the rubber fill, which is the same thing that the NFL players use, that's where the cushion comes from. On top of that, there is a $35,000 alternate add-on to add what's called a geofill, which will help drop the temperature, as much as 30 or 40 degrees. These fields do still need to be wet down before they're played on every day and have some drying time. This particular infill is different than the infill that was used previously. It did what they called migration. It wouldn't last for very long, and we have to add it every year. We will still have to top these things off every year to some degree, but this geofill does not blow away. It's a little bit denser, and so they have better results with this particular add-on. So speaking with Ms. McNamee and Mr. Moody and our facilities and grounds crews, that's the decision we made to go with the standard like for like and this geofill add-on. So we're hoping that we get more playable hours, especially in the hot summer days.
Great.
Mr. Harmon, so in the board packet, it's, there's a picture of what the field looks like. It's a fantastic looking field. Most of the fields that I've seen do not have a logo this big on them. This goes basically from the 10-yard line on one end to the 15-yard line on the other end. It's a massive logo. Is there any change in or cost savings? Shrinking that down to most of them that I've seen are like the 40 to the 40, you know, or something like that. Is there any anything that we could potentially save there?
This particular system that we're going with, the way that they build these swaths of turf, they've eliminated the number of seams. So they're usually 144 seams or something to that degree. There's less than half of the seams. So that's good on the failure side, but it's also how they manufacture this turf. They can print a dark logo like that Ram in the factory. It doesn't cost us any extra to have a large logo because they can build it into the design. If you want anything special like lettering, it is $2,000 a letter. So we're getting the end zones and this big logo as part of the package without any additional costs for logo design, which was a big selling point. So really unique to the designer of this particular product. So the picture that I shared with the board, that was just kind of a sketch up that the vendor did. We'll be sitting down with staff and kind of working out. There might be other Rams that are in their graphics package. It might not be that exact Ram. And there's a lot of other striping and things that will be added on. We can add press lines, so press can't go beyond a certain line. We can add, things for like flag football or other sports that are just kind of in there so our grounds crew doesn't have to constantly be, chalking things off. So there's some really neat things that we're going to do with this.
Yeah, that's the one thing that when I noticed because the soccer field lines, if they're not well-defined, it can be very difficult to play. And so when you're bringing, and I'm assuming you'd have to do this pretty soon if this is going to be done during spring break, all the athletic coaches that utilize that field to get their feedback.
Yeah, we'll be finalizing that, those conversations. And Mr. Moody has already been working with Mammoth and the group, so we're full steam ahead with approval, obviously.
Well, with that, any other questions?
It mentioned above threshold amount, so what was the reference? How much above threshold is the cost?
Our policy requires anything over $100,000 to come to the board for approval. So that threshold is $100,000 per purchase. So you'll see that above threshold verbiage a lot, especially when we're doing a job order contract like of this magnitude.
Thank you for the clarification.
Any other questions or comments?
I'd like to motion that we approve this.
I'll second.
Lisa, we have a motion second.
Shante Rothschild,
Aye.
Ben Owens,
Aye.
Carolyn Lopez,
Aye.
Peg Trey,
Aye.
Robert Downey.
Aye, so moved. We now move on to item 9, adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Lisa, we have a motion second.
Shante Rothschild,
Aye.
Ben Owens,
Aye.
Carolyn Lopez,
Aye.
Patty Coutre,
Aye.
Robert Downey.
Aye, so moved. We are now adjourned. Thank you, everyone.